Welcome, believers and non-believers, to our Best of 2017 video, where we go over the best films of 2017.
What just happened? Well, that's the last time I'll let you do the opening. We are here to talk about our top 17 films of 2017. We do 17 because we see so many films in a year. We want to try to compile as many as possible to let you guys know what was the best of the best. We obviously take a long time to get these lists out because in Australia we get a lot of these films a lot later than the US, and that's the kind of release calendar that we follow. So we try to make sure we've seen as much as possible, as many films that were on other people's best of the year lists, so that ours is kind of as accurate as possible. As always with our best of lists, it's kind of a compilation of the films that we review the best and the films that we kind of appreciate and value the most, because often they're not exactly the same thing. Sometimes there's films that were heavily flawed that we enjoyed more than ones that we said, for instance, that were perfect. So that's why you'll see a mix of films on this list.
And while we will rank all these films, it's very hard for us because, I mean, like, some of these films we saw over a year ago and we only got the chance to see once. Some of them we've seen multiple times. It just kind of varies. So, I mean, the ranking on them is just kind of how we're feeling about them right now, I suppose, and how we might feel in the future, but things are going to change. And I mean, 2017 was such an incredible year for films.
The best for me ever, the best.
Yeah, I agree. And it's like one of those years where it's like we could recommend number 17 on our list and we could recommend number 3 on our list and we'd be happy with what we watch.
Degree, yeah.
Just because like the films are of such a high quality. It's like, my goodness, just...
So that's not necessarily saying that film number 13 is better than film number 14. That's just the way the list happens to kind of fill out. Also this year we've pretty much 100% spot on agree on the list. So there's actually no divergence other than
War for the Planet of the Apes. I have seen multiple times now and I absolutely love and adore this film. It's like well within kind of like my top 10, my personal top 10, but look, we've got.
I didn't dig it as much.
You didn't dig it as much. We've shifted it out, and it kind of also allows us to talk about other films as well within the top 17. But anyway, I gotta make note of it because that film is something very, very special.
We also did a list ranking these superhero movies of the year. Logan probably would be on our list here. It is the best superhero film of last year, but it's on everyone's list. Everyone knows about it. I thought we'd probably be okay with leaving it off considering it topped that other list. So Logan isn't on there. That's not to say that the films, on here are necessarily better than Logan. It's just we've already kind of covered it. There's no need to go over it again. So that being said, there's no honorable mentions. Let's just dive straight into this list.
All of you can kiss my Russian ass.
What an absolute laugh riot this film was. The best comic book film of 2017.
Yeah, because it's based on a comic book.
It's based on a comic book, and it was honestly, I've just never laughed that hard in the theatre. I'm so excited to watch it again. I actually believe it comes out in Australia soon.
Yeah, so we're going to be copping it again with a bunch of friends.
Definitely, because this is just a film you've got to see with friends. You've got to see. It's just so good.
It's situational comedy at its best, and it's using such a bizarre event, the death of Stalin, as kind of the springboard for a great comedy film. So TRAINSPOTTING 2 was the first great film we saw in 2017. It was the film that we saw so early on and we're like, a film this good coming out this early? That's so strange. I know a lot of people are mixed on this film and that we hadn't really gotten into TRAINSPOTTING until like the week before, I think, was the first time we'd seen it. Yeah. But this movie here managed to take that idea of doing a film 20 years later and really elevate it, really show the impact that the events of the first film have had on these characters' lives. It was a great film about kind of change and growth and coming back to the same spot with the same people, and I think it's just a great example of how to do that sequel 20 years on.
100%, and the most exciting part about it was seeing Danny Boyle tackle this sequel 20 years on, considering his experience, his skill set growing, because, I mean, the things he does in this film, he couldn't have done 20 years earlier.
And it also kind of has an emotional through line, which is really, really compelling. I never thought I would say that a TRAINSPOTTING sequel would make me cry multiple times, but this film did.
It's a nice dream.
Good time, great time, brilliant time. This film is far from a bad time and it is well worth checking out. If you live in Australia, jump on Netflix right now and watch this film because it is available there. If you live anywhere else in the world, just get a hold of this film because it's fantastic and it's just so
wild. It's so alive. It's got
yeah.
such a great amount of gritty, kind of grisly energy. It's such a great performance from Robert Pattinson. It's just
one of the year's best.
Yeah,
like,
one of the year's
2017's
best. Massively underappreciated. The film as a whole is just super stylized, super inventive, super crazy. It really just has this kind of wild ride feeling to it. It's really everything that a small budget thriller should be.
We can light it up, so they can put it out.
So The Killing of a Sacred Deer, unsurprisingly, is a new kind of unconventional, bizarre, semi-masterpiece from Yorgos Lanthimos, just like The Lobster back in 2015, and obviously for anyone who's seen Dogtooth will kind of appreciate that as well. These films are the type of thing that kind of break down all basic convention of how a film kind of operates, how people communicate, to create a super surreal, kind of dreamscape type movie that kind of doesn't follow any laws of real world logic, and that is what is so fun to dive into each time.
Yeah, just so much respect for this film, and it was one of many films of 2017 that just absolutely challenged the audience, challenged their expectations, challenged what they thought that they could get from a cinema experience, and this film was something else.
And successfully, it ended up being one of the best horror films of the year because of how kind of gross it makes you feel. This isn't the kind of movie that you walk out and go, man, that was so much fun, that was so entertaining. It's the type of movie that really makes you feel sick inside. And because it's so totally achieved that, that is why it's here on this list.
Mother of God, Holy Dooly, Darren Aronofsky directed Mother in 2017, and this film was just something out of this world. I mean, we were lucky enough and we feel very privileged because we were at the world premiere at Venice in 2017 for this film, and we got to see it for the first time, see audiences react.
Yeah, no one had seen it at that stage. There was no like consensus on it. There was nothing. We knew nothing about it.
And people were just reacting in such a wild way.
So visceral. People were screaming. People were like yelling. They were booing. They were cheering. It was completely nuts because it's such a visceral experience.
But it is just something else. I mean, it's just like, this is what we love about cinema. This is what we love seeing. And it is, I'm just so glad that this film can even exist while we're all alive as well, because it just challenges so much.
And yes, say what you want about the allegory or kind of how kind of ambiguous the type of movie is, but as an actual experience, as a force of pure cinema, it's completely like insane. And that's the kind of thing that we really go nuts over, something that can just be a pure force of cinematic energy and power, and that is what you have with Mother.
Baby, you tell me who does.
She a good girl? You love her? Yes, I do. That's too bad.
Going into Baby Driver, we knew exactly what to expect. It's an Edgar Wright film. Edgar Wright doesn't make bad movies. This movie was, of course, going to be great. We were probably still not prepared for just the level of greatness this film achieves. It is so inventive. It is so kind of just insane. It is so creative. It's just a really, really wonderful experience, and I think kind of everyone that's been able to see it has kind of cherished exactly what this movie is. It's kind of like a car chase musical with some of the best editing and sound design of any film this year.
It's just a rich cinema experience. I mean, there is so much within this film, but at the same time, like, you don't have to see it all. You can go along and just like sit there like it's popcorn entertainment and have fun with it. But at the same time, if you are a film fan or you want to be a filmmaker, you can dive into this film and you can just search for days, because Edgar Wright is just a master.
He constructed something that is really like a kind of a conceptual challenge. Like, just thinking about how this movie was put together is truly insane. And that is just so impressive to see that he was able to pull off the final result as well as he did.
And as sad as the spectacle of these billboards might be, this reporter, for one, hopes this finally puts an end to the strange saga of the 3 billboards outside.
This doesn't put an end to shit, you fucking retard. This is just a fucking start. Why don't you put that on your Good Morning Missouri fucking wake-up broadcast, bitch?
So another film we were very lucky and privileged to be the world premiere for, and my goodness, was 3 billboards an experience and a half. I mean, I don't think there was a single person in the theater at Venice that didn't love or adore this film.
Yeah.
It is just such a magical human film.
And obviously in the time since then, there's been a lot of backlash growing around this film about its depiction of the kind of themes and the characters within it. but looking at it in itself and what it's going for and the messages it's putting across and the way it's communicating them, the skill and depth with which the characters are written, the way that they interact with each other, the way the dynamics between people learn to grow and change from that, is such a beautiful thing. Yes, this might feel like kind of like a revenge fantasy against kind of injustices in the world, but the film actually just has this really poignant exploration of so many different things, and it handles them with so much care and so much love and so much passion and such fantastic comic bite that the delivery of the overall product is just incredibly, incredibly great.
What if this is the best version?
Now, just like the rest of the world, we of course are completely in love with Lady Bird. This film is just so beautifully written and realised, and it explores such a wonderful array of characters in such a kind of relatable way, no matter kind of what generation you're from, at what time you grew up. There is so much here to connect with and grab onto, and the film does such a great job of teaching us to kind of cherish that process and our past and what it is to grow up, and it's just such a wonderful movie.
Oh, it's just a sort of wicked depiction, just a heartfelt depiction of life. Watching this film, it's almost like watching a documentary, but at the same time, it's so incredibly well constructed and written, and it's realised so goddamn well by Greta Gerwig. And at the front of this film is such a phenomenal performance by Saoirse Ronan as well. So, I mean, this film is so special, and I think it's going to hold a special place in many people's hearts. It definitely holds a big place in mine. I am still astounded that a prequel to Thelma and Louise was this good. Yes, I'm continuing that joke.
Stop!
It's an absolute rip-off. No, Thelma is absolutely phenomenal. If you get the chance, please check it out. I mean, as we talked about in the review, this film starts with an epilepsy warning, and you finish feeling
like you've had a seizure.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a full assault. It's such a great kind of coming-of-age story that's blended into a slow-burn thriller that is all about kind of coming to learn about this central character at the same time that she does. You're finding everything out at the same pace that she is. It's such a great film of putting you in that kind of subjective state of mind while watching a movie, and it really delivers that so well.
Whatever you do it carefully.
Well, of course, it's no surprise to anyone that a new film from Paul Thomas Anderson and Daniel Day-Lewis is on this list. Of course, Phantom Thread was going to be fantastic. There was never any doubt in our minds. Obviously, reviews came out and we were like, oh, wow, wow, wow. And it was the main film we were waiting to see before doing this list, because obviously, it's just a stunning achievement in kind of dark comedy. And it's almost like, I feel like it's reinvented the art house romantic rom-com.
It kind of has. I mean, and this film's also... This film has also been incredibly memorable. It has stayed with me every day since seeing it, and I just have so much respect for everyone involved in this movie. I mean, the fact that it exists as well as it does, with the performances that are as grand as they are, with the filmmaking as good as it is.
So lavishly detailed, it's so beautiful, it's so rich, there's so many layers, so many textures, just what a wonderful, wonderful concoction.
I can't do anything but applaud this film.
Because it's amazing.
It's time for the Jedi to end.
Now, whoa, hold up. Yeah, this film is great. I'm sorry to break it to you. Despite it being heavily flawed, it's probably the most flawed film on our list considering it's so high up. There is so much here to kind of get from this movie, and I never thought I would get as much from a Star Wars movie as I have here. This is a movie that occupied my mind since I've seen it. I've seen it that many times since then, because there's just more and more detail to get out of this film. It actually feels like Star Wars kind of met the art house, and while the blend may not have completely worked at times, the fact that possibly the biggest blockbuster franchise on Earth went in this direction it did, and did all these things it did to the degree that it did them, it is worthy of being on this list.
Yeah, look, Star Wars Episode 13, The Lost Jedi, has certainly been my favourite so far.
Hey, that's not the one we're talking about.
Huh?
It doesn't exist.
The thing is here, guys, what I do want to say is, like, just look at it like this. Disney have pretty much bought the entire world, and we're about to start seeing a new Star Wars film probably twice a year, which is kind of incredibly depressing and kind of breaks my heart. And I don't think we'll ever see another film quite like this. So in time, I'm only going to grow to love this film more and more, and I hope everyone else does. We've talked about it extensively. Go check out them reviews. That's all I'm going to say.
Call me by your name and I'll call you by mine.
So, Call Me By Your Name is still breaking my heart every second.
Everyone's heart.
Every second of the day. I mean, look, this film is just an absolute masterpiece. It will be glued to my wall so I can just...
What, like the Blu-ray? Just
What
glue it onto your
would
wall?
I do with a Blu-ray glued to my wall? I am
That's
absolutely...
a terrible idea.
Absolutely confused. But this is a film that I just want to, like, have in my house and go, you know what? You know, I don't know where I'm going with this.
Point is, the movie's really, really amazing. It's so beautiful. It's so kind of
It just puts you at a
sensual and
loss
so-
for words.
It's got this summer vibe that the film captures in every way it can. It makes it feel like it's a memory that you now have, even though it's like you're reliving a memory you've never had while watching it. It is such a beautifully realized film. It is so elegantly constructed. It's just such a profoundly rich and detailed story with such incredible performances across the board and so many scenes that will kind of just stay with us forever, as I'm sure they will with so many people that have seen it.
If I told you about her, what would I say? I wonder.
Inside our top 5, of course, is The Shape of Water, another film that we were lucky enough to see at the world premiere in Venice. What we said at the beginning of our review still holds true from the second this film started. I'm not even joking. The second this film started, I was like, oh, this is going to be perfect. And of course it was. I mean, we're using this word so much in this list because obviously 2017 delivered so much, but what a beautiful film.
Yeah.
This really does feel like his next true masterpiece, Del Toro's kind of best work since Pan's Labyrinth. It actually hits those heights. It is so just immaculately conceived, so beautifully constructed. Everything in this film there's so many layers, there's so many details. Its use of reincorporating ideas to kind of grow and expand on characters never ever fails. Just what a wonderful, wonderful movie.
It's just like it's like a perfect achievement, like across the board, whether it be the acting, the way the camera moves, the way the film's edited, the music, everything is just... The shape of everything is literally so perfect.
Just perfect.
It's an actual joke. Like, I just have so much respect for Mr. Del Toro.
So much love for this movie. It's just a movie that fills you with so much kind of emotion and so much passion. And that's the thing, is that the passion of cinema is so alive in this movie. And that is something that we so need to cherish.
Your story isn't over yet. There's still a page left.
Yes, it's Blade Runner 2049. It's on this list. Why is it on this list? Because this film is a masterpiece.
It melts my brain. It's so good.
How did Denis achieve this film? How did Roger Deakins shoot
anyone
it?
achieve this film? How did we achieve this film in 2017?
How did Ryan Gosling perform that well?
Feels like the film that shouldn't have existed.
How did Harrison Ford perform that well?
It's so perfect. Everything about it is just... It is like the next level blockbuster. It's one of the greatest sequels ever made. It's possibly the best sequel we've seen since The Dark Knight, if not better. There's honestly the scale of this movie, the creativity once again, the level of incredible storytelling, and the use of visual design and visual communication to get across so many of those ideas. It is a film that is so deep, so layered with so many textures, and it's exploding with so many ideas that it cannot be anything other than a film that people should be talking about for generations. It should be a prime example, probably the first film that any film school anywhere gets shown because of what's going on in this movie. It's just like,
It's so exciting that this film exists, you know, like, I don't care if we never, ever see another Blade Runner film, because we've got this. We've got the original, and we have the perfect freaking sequel.
The sequel that may even be better than the original.
Exactly. I mean, like, I could not have ever asked or hoped for more from this film. It's just such a freaking achievement.
Now, unlike pretty much every other film inside our top 10, we've only had the option to see a ghost story once. But that one experience has stayed with me since then, because that's what it is. It's an experience. It's not an easy film. It's not a film that operates on any kind of known basis of storytelling. It's just the type of film that you let wash over you let happen, and you let yourself get involved in this film that completely kind of like disassociates itself from space and time. It's just an exploration of life, the meaning of it, and our kind of journey through time itself, and it's just...
It's certainly a film I think that absolutely everyone should experience. I don't think everyone would connect with it the way we have connected with it, but like that's just what cinema is. I am just so glad that I was able to connect with it as much as I did, because this film has changed my life. It's in my soul, it's in my body, it's in my jam, and it is just such a special, beautiful film, and I just love David Lowery for actually deciding to make a film about a man in a sheet. The film is about a lot more than that, but look, you know,
yeah,
good on him.
Yeah, just go and watch the movie though, you know?
This film will forever just hold such a dear place in our hearts. We were at Venice and we were like, look, we're here, we've got to check out a few more films. Let's see this film called FOXTROT.
Right on the fence about it. We didn't know if we were going to see it.
We know absolutely nothing, and we walk in and we walk out different people. I mean, that is what cinema is about. I mean, wow, is this film swore.
This is one of the best films I have ever seen. It is inside my top 10. It is such an incredibly beautifully told story about kind of loss and grief and how people cope with those kind of things, and it's told in such an insane way. It's like tonal shifting from like the most depressing film you've ever seen to one of the most insane comedies, to being like this super tearjerker, to being this kind of fun family movie. It goes through so much. It takes you through kind of the full range of human emotions and comes out the other side being one of the most incredibly human films I have ever seen.
It's true. It is honestly like there's no other way to put it other than being just like such a human film, because it goes from like the darkest and deepest spots of our existence to the greatest spots of life, and like looking at how we can just cherish some of the most beautiful moments in our lives. And I think this film is just something that everyone needs to experience. Like they need to have this film in their life.
There's so much to learn from it. There's so much that can help you grow as a person and understand the world that we live in. And that's when cinema is really firing on all cylinders, when it's really letting you kind of access things about the world and letting you see them in new ways. Not only is this film just an immaculately constructed, it's so geniusly concocted, it's one of the best surrealist masterpieces I've ever seen. But as we have continually said, it is a film that takes you on this kind of incredibly sincere emotional journey. And it's just something that I'm so glad that we were able to see.
So usually we park the bus right here and we go, oh my god, what's number one?
What's number one? What's it gonna be?
What's it gonna be?
What's it possibly gonna be?
But if, look, you all know what it's gonna be.
Yeah, you all know what it is.
You can practically see it from here.
What?
Home.
There's no other way to put it other than Dunkirk is cinema. If I met someone who had never seen a film in their life and I wanted to find a movie that shows them the maximum potential of what this medium can achieve, I would show them Dunkirk. Not only is this... there's so much about it that we cannot possibly ever be able to cover everything that this film is, everything that it means. It is a blockbuster achieved almost entirely with real tangible things. It's not done in post, it is all done in the moment, and it's all constructed in a way that is so incredibly genius, so incredibly emotive, so incredibly real. It just puts you in a world that we can't possibly access, and it makes it tangible, it makes it terrifying, and it allows us to see humanity at its best. It's humanity fighting to survive, humanity connecting with other people, banding together to overcome an odd that they can't really even begin begin to mentally grapple with.
It's what cinema is all about, like telling stories and sharing stories and allowing us to learn from those stories. And here, Christopher Nolan has just created a world that is our own and allowed us to access it at a level that I don't think would have ever been achievable by anyone else. It is absolutely astonishing that this film exists the way it does. I'm so glad that people around him let it get made. I'm so glad that he realized his own vision, and I'm just so glad this film exists in my life, and the performances here are absolutely expert, and that comes down to whether it be a veteran actor such as Mark Rylance delivering a performance that is just, no one can quite grapple how good that is, or whether it be a newcomer like Harry Styles and the fact that like Christopher Nolan was able to direct a performance out of him that was that engaging and that just
kind of real,
emotive.
It's real in that moment.
I just will never be able to grab everything from this film, and that's what I kind of love, because I'll be able to continually go back to it for the rest of my life. I understand that some people won't be able to, because this film definitely deals with some very harsh subject matter.
And it approaches it in a way that's very, very unconventional, and some people just don't like that.
Yeah, 100%, but I mean, I am just so glad. Oh, this film I love it, I love it.
The monumental achievement that this film is cannot be understated. Even at the level that this film is, this is my third favourite film of all time, even at that level of appreciation, I still am not appreciating this film enough. What this movie is cannot possibly be appreciated enough by any living person on this planet. What it achieves, what it stands for, all that it is in this age where cinema is moving into a realm that is more kind of fake and insincere than it has ever been, despite the level of quality of so many of the films on this list. This is the movie. This is the achievement. This is cinema at its best. It just doesn't get any better than this. And so that is our list of the best films of 2017. There's still plenty more out there that we still want to seek out and see, but at this stage we feel like we've kind of covered everything that we really, really wanted to seek out and watch. What a fantastic year for movies. It is the best year of movies I've ever seen. More of these films have ended up in my top 100 than any other year previous.
Arguably, I think one of the greatest years of cinema of all time. I mean, it was just absolutely outstanding.
Just everything in it was just amazing.
And it excites me for this year, for 2018, to see where on earth cinema goes next, because I think it's going to go to places that is very, very good. So that was our top 17 films of 2017. Let us know your top 17 down in the comment section below.
And when you're down, it's probably worth hitting our subscribe button to continue seeing more stuff from us.
And don't forget to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and Twitter, all at Breaking Banter.
And at Patreon, because we have one of those now, so you can support us there.